40 is a 10 like a dime bag. Got me feeling like a millie, check the price tag. Got the party jumping like crisscross. Got the gold chain and the wristwatch. Pull up on the scene like a big shot. EDM and hip hop, ain't no time for pit stops. Got the party jumping like crisscross. Got the gold chain and the wristwatch. Pull up on the scene like a big shot. 'Cause my style.
Hello again, Swed is back, and today we will create this mod menu feature that enables the user to teleport wherever they like. The GUI might look a bit suspicious, but you can change the design to your personal preference. The feature also allows the user to personalize the coordinates with descriptions and more. The tutorial will go step by step in creating this application, and if you need help, then head down into the comments or join the Discord. With that said, I hope you enjoy. And we're at the Visual Studio IDE development environment, and we are going to choose a framework for our application. So I think .NET 6 is the latest one available, so we'll just create one for the most updated version. And let me just get that. And we have our beautiful form. Let's tweak some options here that we can do in the properties tab. Let's change the text of the form so it fits our application. Let's call it cool menu. Seems about right. And do we want to change something else? I don't think so. We might want to add some control tabs so we don't clutter all of the application's space or the GUI's space. Let's find the control tab. Let's just search for it, never mind. Control, and it should be tab control. So just drag it on to the GUI, and when you have selected the overall selection, or there's one of two selections in the tab control, so you can select, I think you can select this area of the tab page, and you can select the thing around it. Select the thing around it and go down to, let me just go down to dock. We want to find dock and hit the bottom one, or maybe just, yeah, click fill on the dock option, and your application is now easily navigated through with different tab pages. So the text or the name of the tab page is a bit generic, so we'll change it. Instead of tab page 1, let's call it save states. And for the second tab page, let's we will not actually code anything in here, but let's call it stats editor. So maybe in a future tutorial we will go through the stats and edit them. But now we're pretty much done with the tab control. So in the save states, we will add a flow layout panel. This is because we want all of these coordinates to be in panels. You could create a data grid, but I think it looks a bit whack or it's my taste. I prefer using panels and so on because you can edit them much easier than the data data grid. Let me check what the name is. Yeah, data grid view. But enough of that. We will take the flow layout panel and we will dock it to the bottom. So instead of fill, we will choose the bottom panel thingy, and let's drag it. You might want to add some text over here, but let's drag it maybe 70% of the vertical axis. And I think we don't have to add anything more at the moment. So we're done with the point and click editing of the application. But let's move out to the coding section. So double click on the form to get the form load function, and here we will create a new method. Let's use private void. We will call it add panel, and in this method we will have two parameters. One will be vector3 coordinates, and then a string chords name. So this is the description of the coordinates. So you can change from name to description. I don't care, but this is the description and this is the actual data. So for the vector3, you probably will get this error, and that's because we haven't added system.numerics. So add numerics and we can continue. So we will create a panel, the bottom panel, and to do that we write panel. Let's call it row panel. You know, you have columns and rows. We'll call it row panel for now. Equals new panel. Back again. I had to pause real quick, but row panel, which equals a new panel. Now we will change the row panel dot back color. You can choose whatever color you want, but I'll just choose the gray one that I had from earlier. And we will dock the row panel to the top. Equals dock style top. We don't want it to sit loose, and then we want to set some padding on the panel. So equals new padding. These are just design options, all of these things. If you don't have padding, the text will be in the end and the start and the corners of the panel, which can look a bit suspicious. And now we can create a new command, create a label for the coordinate name and set its properties. So forgive me, let's create a comment here as well. Create a new panel and set its properties. So panel, and now we're on to a label. So this label it will be the description label. So the description, and later on we will have a label for the actual coordinates. So label equals new label. We have the text of the label. Let me name, we'll call it name label, and name label will have the text chords name, that was our description or name of the coordinates, plus, and then semicolon, because it will be represent the coordinates. Now we will set auto size to true, because I think it had to do with the text being off. It had a bit wrong offset from the other text, so just set the auto size to true so it sizes correctly, and then we will, why don't you follow my variable name, but we will set the name label.font as well, so you can choose whatever font you want, but I'll just choose GUI. I don't know if I pronounce that correctly, but it's something, and it's the regular. Now we have our label that will be created on the panel, but we haven't added it to the panel yet, so just wait a bit. And we haven't added the panel to the flow layout panel, but before we actually create the label for the coordinates, we will create a mouse click event handler for the text, because I showed you earlier that we made the user available to click the text and change it on the spot, which is just a nice feature. So create mouse click event, and we will do as such mouse label dot mouse click, and we will do plus equals parentheses sender and e equals greater than, and then a parenthesis. So we create the function here, sort of. When you click the mouse click, or when you click on the label, it will trigger this function or this code block. Let's we want to change the text, and to get the input from the user we can use a dialog box. So we'll just create a new string to catch the input, and we will equal it to Microsoft dot Visual Basic dot interaction dot input box, and we will have the arguments a string, another string, and then the code's name. So let's set the first string, which is the prompt, and the prompt should be enter a new name / description for the coordinate. Plural would be multiple coordinates, so I think it's just coordinate, and let's check what the other string is. Default response. No, it's the title, not the default response. The title will be rename coordinates. There we go. So we have catched the input now of the user, and we will update the name label with the new. So name label dot text equals new name plus, and then the semicolon as we had earlier. After that we have our coord's name, which will equal the new name. So everything is updated and up to date. We forgot to close the function, and now we can create our coordinates label. So create a label for the coordinate values. So as again, or like before, let's just copy paste this, and now let's change it to value label. And I forgot to change these ones. There should be a hotkey to change multiple. I just changed the order of them. Okay, I give up. I'll just change them like this. Value label. There we go. Let me check if we should add something more. We actually want to offset the value label from its top, or to create a bit of a margin. That's because the text didn't really look that well without it. And to do that, we will set the value.top and equals name label dot bottom plus 5. So it's 5 points offset from the name label bottom. That means it will be below it. Now we have our label at the top. We have a mouse click event to change the upper label. We have a label for our coordinates, and lastly we want some buttons. So we will create a new button remove button, and this remove button will have the text of remove. The remove button will also have the size of 70 and 30. So this is my personal preference. You can choose whatever size you want. You can change all of the design stuff in here to fit your personal preference. That's what's good about programming and graphical design and so on. Remove button dot, and now I forgot the comment, my bad. Create a remove button and the remove button dot font should be as earlier. Let's just copy that, and we have a back color which will be a new color, so not the dark gray from before, but a lighter gray, I think. Maybe not. but it's 128, 128, and 128. So let's offset the button from its top by doing remove button.top equals never mind. No, I am right. Yeah, remove button. From my notes I wrote this. This is in my notes. So remove button.top equals remove button.top. I don't know about that one. No, I might be dyslexic, but it's remove button dot. No, it's value label. I'm sorry, guys. I'll get myself checked out. Value label dot bottom to offset it from the value label, and we will also create a function or an event handler for our remove button. So remove button dot click plus equals and then sender sender e and flow. When we click the button, as we have declared here, we want to remove the panel from the flow layout panel. So the flow layout panel has an annoyingly long name, so we'll change that. We'll change the name to flow, and it will be the only flow in our application. I actually need to take a pause, guys. I need I need something to drink. BRB. And I'm back. For our remove button click now, we have the name of the flow or flow layout panel, and let's just remove it. So flow dot controls dot remove row panel. There we go. Easy peasy. And now we have another button. So the second button will be the teleport button. And to do that, we will create a new button teleport button. I'll skip copying and pasting my code from before here because it's a bit different. So equals new button, and the teleport button dot text will be teleport. Teleport button. Teleport button dot size will be like before. Size 70/30. And the font will be the same, so we'll copy that. Change the name to teleport. We will set the color, and it will be the same as before. So let's just copy that. Teleport button dot color equals from RGB, so on. Let's set the top to the remove buttons bottom. after that, we will set the x-axis of the button to the remove button's right plus 10. And last thing is to teleport. So as before, we need an event handler or an event, which will be the click plus equals teleport. I'll create a comment for that. Sender and E. I forgot arrow. And in this code block, we will actually call another function. So we'll skip writing memory handling or memory changing code here. So we will create a new function outside the void. So let's go down here. Private void teleport, and then some 3D coordinates. There we go. When we have that method ready, it means that we can call it from here. Not teleport button, teleport. There we go. And then what else but our coordinates that we added. So chords, and we're done. So when we click the teleport button, it will take the chords that we created the panel with, and we will teleport to them. So don't worry about the details of the teleport, I will go into them, don't worry about it. But for the panels and so on, we're pretty much done at this point. So let's add them to the controls. Dot add, and first of all the name label. So we will add all of the elements. Let's copy that and change from name label to value label. And the next one should be a button, yeah, remove button. And the last button will be the teleport button. There we go. Let's create a comment. Add elements to panel control. I don't know. But one last thing, add panel to flow layout. Flow.controls.add, and then our row panel. That was a lot of code for one session and one method, and without testing. So if you were watching this video, go through them step by step, I would say. But the thing is, you will need this last stuff to be able to test your things. So maybe it wasn't such a good setup, but I'm too far in the video to care about that. So let's add some panels to test. In the form load method, we'll just add add panel. We can rename it to add panel to flow. Add panel to flow. And we need coordinates and a string name. So we'll just create a new vector 3. Can I do it like that? Yeah, I can. Perfect. And then a string to test things. Let's call it somewhere. There we go. Let me check if we need something else to test. I don't think we do. So let's test our application just to check that we're not doing anything wrong. So when the application started, we got our panel somewhere and somewhere. I don't know. Wait. Okay, so I made an error, or two of them. In the teleport button, it shouldn't be this one. I was looking at the bottom answer and just wrote it at the top. So it should be the same top as the remove button. And that's my bad. Sorry. And for the coordinate values, it shouldn't be the course name and so on. It should only be the chords dot toString, I think. So let's take a look if it works now. Amazing. So that's my bad. Sorry guys. If we click teleport now, nothing happens as we don't have anything in the method, but we have our text, we have our coordinates, and we have the remove and teleport. So we'll test the description changer. We'll call it we can there might be a place or a store in the game, so we'll call it store. And as you can see, it works. I think a neighbor is using his tools and it's making some noise. I don't know if the recording. Oh, I think you can hear it. That's unfortunate. But we can test the next button, which is remove. And it's gone. So far so good. Let's move on to the next phase, which is much shorter. It's the programming of the teleport. So for changing the memory, wait 1 second. Alright, so it stops for the moment, and alright, the memory writing and reading portion. So first of all, let's add the library that will do the memory handling. I will just use my own package, which is called Swed 32, and this version of that island is 32-bit. I don't know for the definitive edition or the other one. I don't know the bit rate, but for this dead island it's 32-bit, so I'll use 32-bit. You can check the bit of the game via the task manager if you don't know it. So we have our library, and now we will go into our code and just write using Swed and the version. So 32. After that, we will go into project properties. We'll go into under build. At the platform target, select the 32-bit if you have 32-bit. If you have 64-bit, of course use 64-bit. So I will choose 32-bit. and we're ready to go. So under the class, we will declare some variables and just follow. So we have hotkeys. This is not within the Swed package, but it's just a DLL import. So user32.dll. We will need to use system.runtime.interrupt services. We will have to, and he's added again. I'm so sorry. Extern short get async key state, parentheses, keys, and v key. So you need the .NET forms to use the keys. If you're using making a console app, just use integers instead and find the values, integer values according, or that represent the keys. So after that, we will declare some other variables. We will declare a Swed variable. This will be the memory class, and we will have two int pointers, which will be the module and the humanoid. So the humanoid bit, it's just a name for the object that holds the coordinates that I have chosen. So you can choose whatever name you want here, whatever you think is best. But after that, we will go into the load form one load, and we will write check for illegal cross-thread calls. We will set it to false. After that, we will set the Swed to equal a new Swed, and in the constructor write your application name. So mine is the island. Okay. If you're unfamiliar with the Swed reading and so on, check my other video. I will link it down below, which goes step by step to read and write for whatever game and whatever version and so on, and how to find the name, how to find the bitrate. But this video isn't for that, so we'll set or give the module the return of swed.get module base, and the argument will be our module. So let me get my notepad of information. This is from my previous video that I uploaded some days ago. So if you want to find the pointer that leads to your position, your coordinates, just watch that episode and then come here. But I assume you already have your pointer, and you can just follow this. So we have the module base address now, and now we will set the humanoid value. So we'll just read pointer to have it return as an int pointer. I know that the correct data type would probably be uint pointer for the addresses and so on, but I haven't had the time to care for that to change the memory class. So yeah, that's that. We have some or a base address, so we will add that. We have some offsets, so we'll add that too. and it needs to have a 0x before them, so it knows that we are talking about hexadecimal values. And enough of the notes. So our position now, we can use var pos just to store our current positions of the player, and we will use read vector, and not the module but the humanoid, and then our offset to the position. So let's remove the last one, which is the coordinate offset, and add it here, so 9c. But I will actually do -4 because the vertical axis in our case was, or in my case, was the second value of xyz, or the xyz vector. So I will do -4. Is it the z axis, then you will have to do -8 and so on, because the vector reads 3 floats, which is 12 bytes. Each float is 4 bytes, and it converts it to a 3-dimensional vector. So you will have to read from the beginning, and that's that. So now what we can do is add row or add panel to flow, and just use that position and add a text. So current coordinates. Let's remove that first, or that other example panel. There we go. It would be smart to test this, so I'll be back in a second. And I'm back. So we'll test our application, and it should now or never mind, 1 second, I'll need to add an exception to my Bitdefender. 1 sec. There we go. So now let's test it. Now would you look at that? So we have some coordinates. From past experience, I know these are correct, and now the only part is to fix the teleport method. So we can click teleport, but nothing works. We haven't added any code yet. We have just read the coordinates and added them to a panel, or use them as an argument in our panel creation method. So let's remove that. Go back, go down to our teleport method and complete it. It's not complicated. Let's just write swed.write.vec. So instead of read vec, it's now write vec, and it will be the humanoid, and it will be the offset 9c-4 for me, and we will write the chords to it. Why do you complain? That's because it's the coordinates. There we go. So now we should be able to just teleport to that. Man, you can't catch a break. Somebody has to fix something. My neighbor is just going at it. So click on teleport, and we teleported. That's amazing. But we have no way of adding new save states easily. So let's just do that real quick. So let's make some space for our hotkeys. So we'll create a method called hotkeys. It will have no parameters. It will just check for hotkeys. There we go. And while true, so it's an infinite loop, we will check if get async key state, and the key state will be keys.up for me, so you can choose whatever key you want. It's none of my business, but choose a key that is accessible and check if it's less than 0. That means it's clicked down. So we will use this dot invoke a new action because you can't create designer options on 2 different threads, if I remember correctly. So we'll have to use this dot invoke, and now add row panel dot swed and dot readback, as we did earlier when we added the first panel humanoid. And as you can see, I'm a bit lazy with this offset information, and I'll leave it up to you guys to fix yours. Let's call it somewhere, because we don't know that location. This should be add panel to flow instead of now. And let's put the thread to sleep for 500 milliseconds between each addition. We can't run the application now and expect it to add panels when we press the hotkeys. That's because that method isn't actually ran anywhere yet. So we'll create a new thread equals new thread, which use the method hotkeys, and it's in the background. It will start as following, and I think we're done. I think we're actually done. So let's test it, and we minimize that. We have our current locations. Let's move, and we press the up arrow key. We have our new panel since we clicked or pressed the button somewhere else, and we will teleport to Cinemoy. Let's change it to Cinemoy. We can teleport back in 4. Wow, isn't that amazing?